Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You know, the old classic snake metaphor where you see a snake eating its tail and it makes a circle, and it's kind of a confusing situation that describes things in the real world that happen, like when the National Educators Association, the largest, you know, they say the largest teachers union in the country. It's the largest union in the country, period. Over 3 million members in this union. Huge ally of the Democrat Party. One of their great fundraising tools and get out the vote and organizations is the unions, and specifically this one. Now, this came on a lot of our radars, more specifically mine. I'm just talking on your behalf too. Around the 4th of July weekend, after the terrible debate, Joe Biden was trying to turn the tide and turn the narrative from the poor debate performance by going out and making public speeches. And that next weekend, he was supposed to speak at the teachers union, the big NEA conference that was happening in Philadelphia. However, he canceled that one. And a lot of people said, "Oh, what's the matter? Are you scared to speak in public?" And he said, "No, actually, the teachers have walked out and they're on a protest. They're on strike right now." It's like, "Oh, okay. Well, who's the NEA protesting against?" Well, that silly me. The teachers walked out on the union. The union's not on strike. The strike is against the union. See, there's now a union within a union. It's like a Midsummer Night's Dream or something, where there's like the people that work for the NEA, hundreds, maybe thousands of people. They have their own unionized staff. The staff for the union structure itself is unionized. So the staff union for the NEA has walked out of the convention and convinced a bunch of teachers to walk out. And then when they tried to go to work, they are now locked out. So the NEA has locked out their staff. The country's largest union has their employees striking against them. That is so bizarre. I didn't know you could do that. And look, the rules for unions are wonky for people from Texas because right to work state, we hadn't really had to deal with this. We don't know people who live in these states for the most, or I don't know a whole lot of people who live in these states, but they have some funky rules around it. These pro-union states, like, I didn't understand when you were a kid, like if everyone just walks out of their job, whether it's, you know, from a teacher strike or at an auto plant or whatever, why don't they just go hire a bunch of other people to replace them? Well, that's what they would do if it happened here in Texas a lot of times, or if it happened in a state that didn't have laws that were amenable to unions, that didn't give unions special privileges and powers. But in these other states, you're not allowed to do that. Oh, well, that gives the union an incredible amount of power. And look, there's an argument for unions to be made, but not where you give them special privileges like this. I'm not going to go down that philosophical rabbit hole. That's fine. We can have that discussion another day. I would just like to revel in the mess that these people have created for themselves, where, like, if you don't like the deal you're getting, you can always walk out. Really? Is that how that works in the real world? No, that's not really how it works in the real world. And so to see this, I don't want to say like crumble in front of their face, but now they're having to deal with their own kind. The snake's eating its tail. To give you an idea of what's going down at the NEA and what was happening at that conference, you may have seen this on your social media feed over the last few days. This is a woman who, the woman who gave the keynote at the NEA convention in Philadelphia. Her name is Becky Pringle, and this is how she finished her speech.
We must do this work. We get to do this work. We will do this work because our students are depending on us to win.
Hey, hang on a second. Hang on. Yeah, they did play this on the morning show, didn't they? You know, something I noticed. I'm glad you said that, Garrett, because when they played on the morning show, I was like, you know what that needs? It needs like a preach organ under it. You know, like you're in church. I don't know if y'all have ever been to church out in the country, but this happens sometimes. And look, check this out, because it sounds like religious.
This work. We get to do this work. We will do this work because our students are depending on us to win all the things. NEA, we have to win all the things. All the things. All the things. Our colleagues are depending on us to win all the things. Keep going, NEA, to preserve our democracy. We must win all the things. Delegates, we won't go back. We will keep going forward.
Amen.
Because we are the NEA. We are the NEA. We are the NEA.
Yes, Lord.
And that's what we do.
Don't forget to bring a covered side dish to the potluck coming up after the Cowboys game. Thank you very much. Offering boxes in the back on your way out. Don't forget. 10% for Jesus. Yeah, it sounded very religious there. Like, in fact, that sounded too religious. Like, if I went to a church and the preacher's screaming at me like that, I'm like, if he does this every week, I'm going to find a new church. I mean, the level of enthusiasm doesn't match what should be. This is national education. This is a union convention. You're not supposed to get that worked up. I mean, I don't get that worked up at the Super Bowl. But yeah, so that was Becky Pringle, their keynote speaker. And I don't know how this is going to end up. I've always despised unions in the fact that when they're in the public sphere, they're negotiating against the taxpayers is what they're negotiating against. They're negotiating against you. So like an auto workers union, there's a backstop. The union can come up with all these concessions. And if they become too onerous, if they become too heavy, if they ask for too much, then they could put their host out of business. You know, like they're a parasite and this is the host. They could put their host out of business. So there's sort of natural limits in the private sector on how far unions can take it. But in the public sector, not so much. If you're the union for the cops and firefighters, if you're the union for the postal workers, if you're the union for teachers, who are you negotiating? Who gets stuck with that bill? Whatever amenities you can negotiate for yourself, that's just going to come out of the public trough. They're negotiating against you. And then at the same time, the government's going to give them special privileges that they can't be replaced. So if they want to throw a big enough hissy fit and they want to stamp their foot down, they can basically ask for as much as the taxpayer can possibly stomach and more because we do deficit spending now. But I don't have to know how this turns out to know that I enjoy watching it. The NEA, the country's biggest union, is now fighting against the union of their staff workers. It's union versus union. That's hilarious. No, I'm not. I don't even understand the whole thing, but I am enjoying it.